us know your name. Each case will be introduced by staff and a list of documents will be read into the record. Then the applicant will give an explanation of the proposal. After that, those who wish to testify as either proponents or opponents of the case will have the chance to do so. And then the applicant will have a chance to respond. Any case not concluded at tonight's hearing will be continued to our next meeting. Cade, would you please call the roll?
Chair Cullen,
Here.
Member McCauley, move on. Member Deacon,
Present.
Member Arabalo,
Here.
Member Miranchev,
Here.
Member Zordon,
Here.
Member Puchal,
Present.
Member McCauley,
It looks like she's connecting to audio.
oh, it does say that, you're right. Strange. Well, we can move on, I think.
Okay, we'll move forward. Will any members who were absent from the last hearing please certify for the record that they have read the transcript on any matters that were continued to tonight's hearing? Hi, Max.
I certify that I have read the minutes from the prior meeting.
Perfect. Would someone like to make a motion to suspend the rules to participate digitally?
I move that we suspend the rules so that we can meet digitally this evening to this hand in line with the governor's orders to operate according to COVID-19 rules and procedures.
A second.
Can we call, we're going to call the roll for every vote tonight. This will be the first roll call vote. Cade?
Chair Cullen,
Aye.
Member McCauley, I think you're muted.
Yes, aye.
Member Deacon,
Aye.
Member Arabalo,
Aye.
Member Miranchev,
Aye.
Member Zordon,
Aye.
Member Puchal.
Aye.
With that unanimous vote, we move forward. Okay, can I get someone to call a motion for approval of the meeting minutes of July 21st, which is our last meeting?
I will. I move that we approve the meeting minutes of July 21st.
Is there a second?
A second.
Cade, please call the roll.
Chair Cullen,
Aye.
Member McCauley,
Abstain, I wasn't present.
Member Deacon,
Aye.
Member Arabalo,
Aye.
Member Miranchev,
Aye.
Member Zordon,
Aye.
Member Puchal.
Abstain.
Motion passes. Okay.
Chair Cullen, I just want to note that on the meeting minutes, it says that Max was present. Max, you were not present for the last meeting?
For the 21st of July.
Correct. It lists him as present.
I don't believe I was present.
Okay, that change has to be made to our minutes.
Make
Okay.
it.
Yes. Okay. Not it. Alrighty. Okay, moving on to new business. Is the respondent for 1800 Central Street available?
I'm here, Matthew Kerouac, the architect.
And I'm the owner. I'm here, John Roman.
Perfect. Cade, would you read this into the record?
Matthew Kerouac, architect, applies for major zoning relief to construct an upper story dwelling unit atop an existing one-part commercial building in the B1A Business District and OCSC Central Street Corridor Overlay District. The applicant requests a 13-foot rear yard setback where 15 feet is required. Zoning Code Section 6957H, a 0-foot step back between the first and second floors where 10% of the lot depth from the required pedestrian area, 7.25 feet, is required. Zoning Code Section 61514.8, and no off-street parking spaces where 1 is required. Zoning Code Section 616, Table 16B. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes a recommendation to City Council, the determining body for this case.
Now, before we move forward, I am going to ask the respondent and the owner to be sworn in. Could you raise your right hand? I'll swear in anyone who plans to give testimony on any of the cases scheduled for tonight. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you provide in connection with this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
I do.
Thank
I
you.
do.
Would you like to read your proposal? Tell us about your proposal, please.
I will go ahead and do that. This is Matthew Kerouac, the architect. My address is 314 West Hawthorne Court in Lake Bluff, Illinois. My client, John Roman, who's had a business in Evanston at this location since 2003, and he subsequently purchased it in 2006 from the previous owner, is planning on adding a one-story or a single-story apartment above a one-story existing structure that houses his business. The second-story addition will house a 2-bedroom apartment that he'll rent out, and plans on using in the near future for his wife and himself once they become empty nesters. We are looking for this project to be an added asset to the neighborhood. However, we need 3 variances to accommodate that. The first variance is the required parking. We are required to have 1 parking spot. However, there are no available spots within 1,000 feet that is available. John does have a lease on a spot 1,400 feet away. However, since there are no available spots, there's no on-street parking except for residences. We don't feel that this will pose an impact on the neighborhood. There are local CTA and Metro stops within a half a block of this location. The second variance is the rear yard. Our building abuts an alley and a parking lot, and the required 15-foot setback would push our building 2 foot further in, which would minimize the valuable square footage that we need to accommodate a typical 2-bedroom apartment. There are other buildings on this lot that have, or on this block that have full rear yard 2-story structures. We feel that this would pose a minimum impedance on any light and vent in the rear. The third one is the building height. The overlay district requires that we have a 10% setback, which is 7.25 feet. In looking at developing the elevation, since this is only going to be a 2-story structure, we felt that setting back the new second floor would create it would erode the established street wall and be less sensitive to the adjacent mixed-use structure. Some of these setbacks are required for much larger and taller buildings. We feel that a 2-story structure along this street should only have a 0 setback to maintain the integrity of the block.
Other questions?
That's my brief overview.
Thank you. Are there questions?
No questions. I would just comment that given the proximity to so much public transportation, I think that the parking variance is inconsequential, particularly since the applicant rents the space within 1,400 feet of the property. So just a comment.
I have a question for the applicant. Can you go into a little additional detail on the discussion and what is currently being proposed as it relates to sort of the affordability of the issue and what percent of AMI is being discussed now for the unit while it's in the rental pool, and how long it's expected to be in the rental pool before the owner expects to occupy?
John, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. And I
question?
apologize. I hope you can hear me well. I had to hide out in my car. I've got 3 kids doing college in my house right now, and it was a little crazy.
We
So,
understand.
sorry, the lighting is not great. Yeah, the affordability thing is I think it's a huge issue in Evanston, and we've had long conversations with Sally, who is does the affordable housing for Evanston or is involved in that, and so we looked at all the different categories. The challenge is I'm not building a big building with a bunch of units. I'm a State Farm agent, and my only real estate besides my home is in the building that my State Farm office is in. So we'd be building just one apartment, and it's hard to look at doing affordability when there's only one unit to spread it across. And so the 80% of AMI, I think it's 80% of AMI, would put the unit at $1,603 a month, and then I have to subtract out utilities. And so to do affordable, I would have to rent the unit for a net rent of a little bit more than $1,400 a month. And right now, to build the second floor apartment would be around $250,000. And actually, it's probably more than that now because of all the COVID-related building material issues. But I can't make my payment off of that, and only having one unit to rent just makes it really challenging to look at affordability. And we've thought about it a lot and had lots of conversations, including with my wife, because it's something that we think is really important, but it's challenging to do with one unit. Does that answer your question?
Well, when do you intend to occupy the unit is what I thought I heard Commissioner Deacon ask.
Oh, that was the second part of the question. I'm sorry. So, so my last child, I've got 4 kids. My last one is a junior in high school. And so we're looking at 2 years, getting rid of our big single family home. Well, not big, getting rid of our single family home. I live in Wheaton right now. And so we've talked about, I take the train every day, which has been one of the benefits of having the building because it's a quarter block from the metro station to my building. And so you really don't have to have a car. I don't use a car up there. So it would be probably 2 years or less, a year and a half. That's what we're talking about. I mean, who knows? It's like everything's up in the air with the virus. So right now it's a year and a half. Our kiddo would be done with high school.
Thank you. Other questions? Comments?
That was discussed in the amended packet that was sent to us, and the idea of 10% of units in a new development being affordable is one thing if you are building multiple units, but again, if it is one unit that, and I can attest, I hope you get it done for $250,000, but it would be, really prohibitive if it were in the full affordable range for an extended period of time. I don't see how he would pay for the work to be done. I mean, just to cover costs, I think that doing it at 80% is a reasonable compromise.
I have a question.
Yes, Carol.
It is both zoning and let's call it practical, and maybe the architect or the owner can answer it. It's about the party walls. It seems that on the west side, you have a common party wall with the building inside the property. But on the east side, it seems that with the second floor, you're overstepping a wall that I don't know where it currently stands. Is it in your property or it is in the neighboring property? And we're having relatively often problems with party walls. So what's the thing over there? Who has the east wall?
I believe I have the answer. My understanding, and the way that the planner survey shows is that that is our wall. That party wall is part of our lot.
Okay, I'm asking the question because there is a little bit of a, I would say, different dimensions. You are showing 24 feet for the property and then 23.5, which is not clear from where to where. So this should be absolutely clear that you are building up only on top of your property.
Right, the existing one-story building rises above the adjacent building to the east, and it shows the continuation of our facade and our party, that's a continuation of our building, that party wall. So we would just be building up on that. The discrepancy, I think, is the way that the shared party wall on the west is, right, that front dimension takes that into account, whereas in the rear, it gets split in half by the shared wall.
Yeah, I saw that. This is just, I'm asking for caution about this because
sure, and
it has to be.
I totally appreciate your, giving us that heads up on that issue. We would definitely do our due diligence to ensure that we are building, on our property, or if it's a shared, figuring out how, how to deal with that specific situation.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to ask a confirmation question that I'm understanding the brief correctly. The compromise is 120% of the AMI, correct?
Well, I mean, I think that makes it more realistic. I don't have the table in front of me, but I believe the 120% is $2,200, right around $2,200. I have to be careful because I raised my hand, but I think it's somewhere around there. The apartments, so there's two big apartment buildings that are right near me. In fact, one's on the same block. I think it's 1700 Central Street, which is above 10 Mile, the restaurant. And the two bedrooms, 2 baths rent there for $2,900 up to like $3,400 or $3,500. So, which are they're basically new 2-bedroom, 2-bath units. And I think the other one that's right across from Mustard's Last Stand is in that same price range. And so, yeah, affordability is it's a challenging thing.
I have a question. Have you had any discussions with the property owner to the west for those other residences?
The residences where behind the building? What residences are you referring
to? To the west, the building that you'd be butting against.
I think I know the owner of the building because that's the party wall that we would be building onto, and so we've talked about this for several years. I've known him for quite a while, Hank Welch, and I know that there were postings about this issue. I haven't talked to any owner. I mean, any of the people who live there, the renters that he rents to. I've never actually met one of them in my 17 years. So no, I have not had discussions with them personally, but I have had discussions with the owner of the building.
Kate, have we had any correspondence from the people on the west?
No, yeah, we haven't received anything.
And then also, just for the cohesiveness of the front facade, I couldn't quite tell from the plans submitted from the profile view. Do you plan to match the design of that brick of that building from the west?
Well, we are definitely picking up cues from it. We want to definitely maintain the integrity of that street wall and of the architecture, but we would pull from this limestone trim and sills in the banding. So we would take cues, not just bring over the exact details. The brick is a little bit different. We have a brick behind the sign above the canopy that we would try to emulate. So yeah, we'd be harmonious with the addition, with that building to the west, but not exactly like it.
Thank you.
I believe the word in the packet was fenestration, which I enjoyed and looked up.
Yeah, penetration, that's
Good
a
word.
six-year
Right.
word.
Right, I like that word. Anybody else have any questions for the respondent? Anyone else on the board?
No,
Go ahead.
no questions.
No more questions.
Okay. Myrna, anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Violetta, it sounds like we're getting some background. If we can ask for those that aren't speaking to put themselves on mute, that might be helpful.
There's a lady named Mary Lindberger who has her mic open, and I thought she might be having questions. I was going to close the record and let her talk, if that would be okay, and then maybe she could
She's,
start her.
I believe she's for the next case.
Oh, is she? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there are no more questions from the board, I'm going to close the record. We can have our own deliberation. What do you think of this proposal, board?
I think it's a good proposal. It is, any number of things could have happened with this building, but the fact that he has maintained scale with his neighbors, adding only one unit and keeping it cohesive with his neighbor to the west. I don't see anything objectionable about it. There was something in the early DAPR meetings about having this step back, which I think would make really no sense at all in the case of this property. Having a streetscape that is uniform seems preferable to me. This is very reasonable in scale, and again, I see nothing objectionable about it at all.
Yeah,
Sorry, Max, go ahead.
Please.
Yeah, I agree. When you take a look at the site, you almost wonder why there isn't already a residence there. It seems like it would fit perfectly fine. And the zoning relief that is being sought is completely reasonable in order to be consistent with the look and function of the space already. I think it's a great project.
And I echo those comments of Muffy and Max. I'm in agreement.
I appreciate the attempt to make it more residential on Central. I think it fits in with the rest of the community.
I agree. I think it's a thoughtful contribution to the street. It's cohesive with the existing streetscape. I think the variations requested actually make it a better project, more in line with the existing streetscape. So I'm in support of this.
And I'm in favor of the project. I think they did a very good job of integrating the upper residence with the streetscape and matching it with the neighbors next door.
I support the project too. Yeah. A good project.
Thank you. Okay, then I will move forward to the variance standards if we're finished with our comments. Okay. Although the staff recommends approval, the response to the standards below constitute the professional opinion of the planning and zoning staff. Determination whether the standards for major variation have been met shall be exclusive afforded to the members of the board. For the ZBA to recommend approval of the variance, the ZBA must find that the proposed variance A will not have a substantial adverse impact on the use, enjoyment, or property values of adjoining properties. The staff believes that this standard has been met. Staff has not received any objections from the neighboring property owners. Moreover, the proposed addition will provide additional density to the business district's catchment area and is modest in size and is contextual in design, adding to the vibrancy of the neighborhood. If anyone disagrees, please stop me. B, is in keeping with the intent of the zoning ordinance. The staff believes that this standard has been met. The proposed addition promotes the public health, morals, general welfare, and objectives of the comprehensive general plan, as well as enhance the taxable value of the property. C, has a hardship or practical difficulty that is peculiar to the property. The staff believes this standard has been met. A practical difficulty exists as there is no location where an additional parking space could be provided, nor are there long-term lease alternatives within 1,500 feet of the subjected property. Additionally, the small size of the lot, combined with the strict step back and setback regulations, severely limit the buildable area of the lot, creating difficulty to construct a contextually appropriate addition. D, the property owner would suffer a particular hardship or practical difficulty as distinguished from a mere inconvenience. The staff believes that this standard has been met. The property owner could suffer a particular hardship as strict adherence to the zoning ordinance has significant potential to deprive the property owner of the property's economically reasonable use and value. E, is not based exclusively on a desire to extract additional income from the property or public benefit to the whole will be derived. The staff believes that this standard can be met with conditions added. It is the owner's intent to create a traditional live-work space and occupy the residential addition in order to age in place without the use of a vehicle. In order to meet this standard, staff recommends that the members of the board stipulate a condition that until owner occupied, the unit be rented as an affordable unit to derive a public benefit.
Can you stop there, Violetta? So
Yes.
based on the staff's recommendation, then the condition that is recommended is that the unit be rented out at 120% of AMI while it is used as a rental unit. Is that
Correct. Yeah,
That's what I believe, staff. Is that what you intended?
yeah, 120% of AMI is what the housing and grants manager kind of came to terms with that we agreed with.
Okay, thank you.
That should probably be in the conditions of the proposal.
Agreed.
Okay. F, does not have a hardship or practical difficulty that was created by any person having an interest in the property. Staff believes that this standard has been met. The unique size of the parcel was platted prior to current ownership. G, is limited to the minimum change necessary to alleviate the particular hardship or practical difficulty. Staff believes that this standard has been met. The proposed addition is modest in size and limited to the square footage required for a viable two-bedroom unit under current market conditions. Would somebody like to call this motion with the conditions?
I move in the case of 1800 Central Street, 20 ZMJV-0045, that we recommend to City Council approval of this project with the condition that the rental unit be rented at 120% of AMI until the owner takes possession of it, and that the project be completed and compliant in accordance with the documents that have been submitted here.
Second.
Kate, would you call the roll, please?
Chair Cullen,
Yes.
Member McCauley,
Yes.
Member Deacon,
Aye.
Member Aravallo,
Yes.
Member Miranchev,
Yes.
Member Zordon,
Yes.
Member Puchel.
Aye.
Okay, your motion has been passed and will be passed on to the City Council.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for coming.
I just want to thank you for your time and also thank Mr. Sterling for all of his assistance in getting us through this process. And he had some amazing kind of words of wisdom and solutions for us that made this possible. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay, moving on to B, the second order of business, 900 Clark Street. Is the respondent available? Hello?
Yes, we are here.
Okay, great. Kate, can I get you to read this into the record?
Sarah Lewis, proprietor, submits for a special use for a daycare, domestic animal, and kennel, Dogtopia of North Shore LLC in the RP Research Park District. The applicant requests a special use subsequent to a text amendment currently under consideration by the Plan Commission and City Council to add daycare, domestic animal, and kennel as one eligible special use in the RP district. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes a recommendation to City Council, the determining body for this case.
Thank you. Okay, the respondent, would you like to describe your proposal, please?
Yes, we would.
Thank
Thank you so much for having us here tonight. I'm Nicole Dino. I'm from Dinsmore and Shoal, and I'm representing the applicant. Also with me are Sarah and Carrie Lewis, who are going to be the owner-operators of Dogtopia of North Shore. We've got our expert witnesses as well, George Casal and Mary Lynn Berger. From the Dogtopia corporate team, we have Kathy Halter, who's VP of New Center Development, Lisa Gabo, who's the Director of Design, and Tracy Cross, who's the Director of New Franchisee Support. The applicant is seeking to operate a Dogtopia as a special use under an amended definition of domestic animal daycare and/or kennel in the Research Park District, subject to approval of the text amendment. The proposed site for Dogtopia will be at 900 Clark Street, and the over 5,000 square foot space will be built as a self-contained facility to care for dogs. The property will be leased for an initial 10-year period with 2 5-year renewal options. Given the required finishes and the advanced design requirements to control sound and odor, the build out of the space will cost approximately $750,000. Along with the statement from CADE, we've included the floor plan, 2 expert reports, the diagram of the wall type, which will be used to prevent sound from traveling outside of the space, requirements for odor reduction, which come from Dogtopia Corporate, their waste management plan, a parking summary, and letters of support from the landlord, as well as 6 individuals from the community. We thought it was best if you could hear directly from the applicant. So Sarah, are you available?
Yes, definitely.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much,
Can you
Sarah.
state and spell your name?
Oh, yeah.
Can you state and spell your name for the record, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Name and address for the
Yes.
record, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Sarah Lewis, SarahLewis, and my address is 2121 Forest View Road.
Thank you.
Thank you. And can you tell the board about your Dogtopia journey?
Certainly. So my husband and I have lived in Evanston for many years. With the exception of the last few years, we moved out to San Diego for his work. And while we were out there, we ended up adding to our family with a puppy dog, our dog Murphy, our Australian Labradoodle, and we absolutely love her. She's added so much joy and laughter to our family. It's been pretty amazing. But when we made our way back home to Evanston, our home last summer, which is where we, really want to be, when we were out in California, our dog trainer recommended that we take Murphy to a place called Dogtopia for dog daycare to really add socialization, exercise, and education to her. The trainer really wanted to get her off on the right foot. Because in our house, because I was working from home, and this way Murphy could really play and burn off some energy, and I could still really manage my conference calls and projects. So with Dogtopia, I was impressed from the get-go. The staff was fantastic, the safety protocols, cleanliness, and of course there were the webcams, which everyone really loves. So you can check in on your pup during the day, which is really neat. Murphy also anticipated going to Dogtopia. She knew the name, and we always would have to say goodbye in the car because once we were at the store, there was no looking back at us. It was, we were taking her in, she knew the staff knew her by name, and that was pretty much it. So we used Dogtopia the whole time we were out there. And once we made our way back home, I was really looking for something very similar, something that was sophisticated, modern style daycare in our community. And I was really having a hard time finding something like that. And I was really impressed with the credentialed training courses for the employees that Dogtopia offered. That really impressed me when I was out in San Diego. And that was really important to me as a pet parent, but it's even more important as an owner, now that I'm an owner. Another thing, since Dogtopia is so focused in the urban and retail environment, we have well-defined state-of-the-art rules for noise and odor control, and they're very rigid specifications. So my husband Carrie and I realized that downtown Evanston did not have a dog care store that really fit into a pet parent's daily routine. And we really see this as a service that's for all dog owners, people who office outside of the home, and also people who are working inside their home, and especially now when children have e-learning too. So people are being pulled in so many different directions. So we really wanted to focus in the downtown area as it's densely populated. There's a concentration of condos and apartments, and many people do own dogs. So we are so confident that the Dogtopia store is the right fit in terms of exceeding expectation and delighting pet parents and their pups. So given that this is a big investment for my family, Carrie and I talked about this decision long and hard, but we are very excited to be investing in this Dogtopia store for our community. And I will be the primary operator, and I will be on site most days. So, but behind me, I have the support of the Dogtopia support office, Kathy, Tracy, other people that might be on the line today. There's also other people in the support office. We have the canine behaviorist, we have environmental biologist, a veterinarian that I can reach out to at any point in time. And I mean, they're amazing, they're super responsive. We also have our CEO, Neil, who has been fantastic throughout everything, very approachable. Whenever the pandemic hit in mid-March, he has been sending out near daily emails to us. So we're on the forefront of information, and we're all working together through this. One thing that has really touched me is the Dogtopia Foundation. The Dogtopia Foundation has 3 initiatives, and one of them really rings true here in Evanston. It has to do with employing adults with autism. So Dogtopia is committed to doing our part in terms of lowering the rate of unemployment by providing opportunities relating to employing people with autism. And so when we are able to provide these opportunities, these individuals can really bring a unique perspective and understanding to our work environment. So I've been talking with Evanston's organization, Have Dreams, and we're really anxious to collaborate. The alignment of the workforce training program that they have and our employee hiring program, which has been customized for adults with autism, is pretty remarkable. And so we can't wait to get started on this initiative. So my husband and I are so excited to bring this to Evanston, to our community, to our neighborhood, to be a good neighbor and really contribute to the longevity and the success in the downtown area. So I will go ahead and turn this back over to Nicole. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sarah. So we have our 2 experts. I know that you've already probably reviewed the expert reports, but they're available for questioning. And then we also have obviously Sarah with us, and then a couple individuals from Dogtopia Corporate to talk about design, and any other issues that you guys might see.
Okay, who from your team will speak next?
We are just open for questioning at this point. So we can certainly put on our experts if you would like us to, although we didn't know if it was necessary given the reports.
Well, let's see what questions we have. Yes.
I have a question. I have a question for staff, just to back up for a moment. Can you just help us provide some context on the purpose, on the zoning purpose for the research park area?
My understanding is that it was first developed in the 1980s as an attempt, this kind of joint attempt between Northwestern and the city to attract high-tech industry to this part of the city. I think it should be noted, and I don't know if I did in the memo, that the downtown plan for the city basically says that the Research Park District is outdated and that it never fulfilled its original intent, and that it should be essentially rezoned in the future to fit better into the downtown, if that helps.
Yes, thank you.
So to clarify, Kate, essentially going forward, this area is likely to be zoned in a manner that's consistent with the downtown zoning?
I think that would be ideal. Yeah. I don't know when that would happen necessarily, but I think that would be ideal.
Thank you.
So, I would like to ask about this as well. You know, I was present when the Church Street Plaza was developed, when Jim Walensky and Judy were turning Evanston into a place where brambles were blowing down the street into something that they hoped would be the crown jewel of downtown Evanston. And, you know, I looked at all of the other locations where Dogtopias are in the other suburbs and cities that you noted in the packet. And they are all a little bit more industrial than our core downtown area. So, I mean, this is kind of like, you know, a glass and steel office building where we will have upwards of 140 dogs 5 years down the road. And, you know, I appreciate that having that availability so close to the residential areas north of the downtown area that fulfills a need. But I'm just not sure if it isn't a little bit short-sighted on our part. You know, again, having developed property over by the other dog daycare in Evanston, you know, I really came to appreciate the impact of that on the neighborhood. And it was about dogs coming and going, and it was about noise, you know, and again, your Dogtopia is so much more developed in terms of its planning for sound and noise and waste management. So that I appreciate. But I just have a real difficult time with how far this strays from the original vision of what the Church Street Theater District would look like. You know, sharing a wall in the building with Chili's and the, you know, other restaurants, to me, it's a little bit incongruous. So in all of the other neighborhoods, the locations are either big box store developments where they're gigantic uses anyway, they're almost warehousey, or else they are strip malls, Rand Road, you know, out of the way. But this is our core downtown area. So I'm struggling a little bit with this special use, simply because it's not what was envisioned at the time. And you know, and then I'll have further questions down the road. You say, is there any outdoor space for the dogs? You know, those are some of the things, but just fundamentally, I have to say that this is a really far cry from what was the original intent for the theater district in downtown Evanston. And I think that we might be stretching a little bit because we are in an economic slump and we are in the midst of a pandemic, but I would hate to cut off our nose to spite our faces. That's my comment.
If I can jump in here as well, a couple of thoughts. One, I am a pet parent, so I am your target audience. And, you know, my dog does attend one of the doggy daycares in Evanston, and it's a huge service. And I absolutely appreciate that it's it's something that I value in our community. And I applaud your desire to open a Dogtopia in Evanston. So I applaud that and welcome the investment in Evanston. I share Muffy's concerns about whether this is an appropriate use for our downtown district. You can call it the Research Park, but it is our downtown district. And, you know, I share, you know, our downtown, our retail corridors are struggling. That said, you are signing, you know, desire to sign a 10-year lease here with, you know, 5-year extensions. And I think it may be short-sighted on our part to allow a very intensive use in our core downtown. you know, I go to, you know, I drop my dog off, I pick my dog up, I see, you know, I see the type of use it is, and I appreciate it and understand its value. But again, that use is in a more industrial area. I do have a question for staff, and then, you know, welcome the applicant, you know, addressing some of the concerns here. But my question for staff, for Kate or Melissa, is whether, you know, the economic development team has weighed in here. I imagine that they would have some thoughts perhaps as to whether this is an appropriate use as they're talking to, you know, potential tenants and businesses for our downtown, and then welcome understanding what their thoughts are.
Yeah, we've worked pretty closely with Paul on this, and I think his feeling is the need to find alternative uses in what was traditional retail areas in the city. And I think that, well, I know that he's supportive of it, not only for that, but also because this has been a long vacant space, I think in nearly 10 years that it's been vacant. And I think Paul actually sees it as a complementary use that can help help the downtown. So that's economic development's view on it, if that's helpful.
I'd love to respond if that's acceptable. My name's Kathy Halter, and I'm the Vice President of New Store Development for Dogtopia. I'm glad that I chose my Zoom background today to be our downtown Columbus location that recently opened. It is underneath a long-term hotel next door to Children's Hospital, fully surrounded by all downtown locations. And as you can imagine, from a sound attenuation standpoint, to have residents and guests, hotel guests that have their children in a hospital near you and that are trying to sleep at all hours of the day because they have varied schedules trying to visit their children in the hospital. We have zero neighboring tenant complaints. We definitely know and understand how to do the sound attenuation. This is just one of our 8 locations that are currently open in downtown locations. Redmond, Washington.
Kathy, I'm sorry. Excuse me for interrupting, but where did you say this is? Downtown Columbus?
Downtown Columbus, Ohio.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Downtown Columbus. We have a downtown location in Redmond, Washington. Again, underneath a residential tower with residents right above it, with an Orange Theory next door and businesses all around. We also have 2 in Washington, DC, one in downtown DC that just opened. Again, just an amazing location. Again, sound attenuation is no problem there. We also have one in downtown Seattle. Harbor Steps in Seattle. Our neighbor is Starbucks. Our neighboring tenants above us are residents, and then this beautiful outdoor step area where there's restaurants and retail, and people come out of their businesses to sit and have lunch and enjoy lunch, and there's outdoor concerts and all kinds of downtown artistic environment down there, and we are a welcome tenant there. Our pet parents there come from, some of them work there, they live there, they play there. We have extended hours so they can attend the theater or they can attend an event, and they can bring their pup and leave their pup. Lisa, as you said, being a pet parent is very much, especially nowadays, very much like parenthood of a child, and they become very much a part of your family, as Murphy has become a part of Sarah's family. So we really have had a strategic focus over the last 3 years to be able to put our locations in some of these downtown markets where our core customer lives, works, and plays. We actually acquired Dogtopia about 4 years ago. Actually, now it's about 5 years ago, in 2015. The earlier locations that had been built prior to that, most of them were in more industrial locations. They started out in Virginia and a number of the older stores, and that might be what you are seeing. We definitely have locations in kind of strip centers kind of anchored by like a Sprouts or a Trader Joe's or something like that. Again, where our customer, comes and works and plays. But we really love our downtown locations. The one that just opened in Stamford, Connecticut's amazing. We have just got a SUP passed in Dedham, Massachusetts, again, another location, downtown location, and Norwalk, Connecticut just signed a lease there. So we're really growing into the metro areas and in more urban and more densely populated areas because people are choosing to be able to live in a smaller footprint, but they need to be able to get their dog out to exercise. They want their dog to be a part of their live, work, play lifestyle, and we're the perfect companion for that.
I have a question back. It's a couple of questions back, and I think Mary asked the question. Do you have an outdoor area in this location downtown, Sarah? In our research park? Did you have an outdoor area?
No, it's
I'm sorry?
completely self-contained. No, there's no outdoor area.
Okay. Do you have overnight boarding?
There will be overnight boarding, but with regards to the outdoor space, this is, I think about half, I think Kathy mentioned in a previous call we've had, about half of Dogtopias do not have outdoor play. Kathy, did you want to talk about that a little bit?
We work really hard to bring the outdoors in. And what I mean by that is we have rubberized floors for the comfort of the joints and paws of our dogs. We do a lot of activities inside, give them plenty of room to run and play. We also, just do some visual stimulus for them as well as some gym equipment for them to be able to play on. We have an open play environment, and we separate the dogs by size and temperament so that they have enough room to move around with their friends and play in that environment. We also, because we have to design all of our stores based on a kennel code, and kennel code candidly in most jurisdictions is 20 years old. It's this is definitely not a kennel. We don't it's not what you would typically visualize as, as you mentioned, maybe a more industrial kennel with kind of chain link and enclosures for pups. Definitely not the case here. That very much looks like they're going to school. We've modeled it after kind of a daycare environment for children, though it has the same safety features and fun, accessible, exciting area for the dog. So we have to, because of that kennel code, we have to exhaust 90% of the air every 12 minutes in these dog playrooms. So we have a really intense HVAC system, and that HVAC system keeps it, we always say, fresh and clean and smelling like a million bones. So it really does keep it very fresh and clean. We also use sterile air in our HVAC units to sanitize the air and to also kill any pathogens. We're also extremely diligent around taking care of the pups that come into our locations. So they go through a three-step process. They first have to have a meet and greet, and they have to pass that meet and greet. But before they come into the location, they also have to share all of their records, their veterinary records, with Sarah and her team, and they have to validate that. So we have a safe environment with dogs that that are well taken care of, and then they go through the meet and greet and are assessed for size, temperament, and their ability to interact with their pack, or what will be their pack. And then, and I know you mentioned the boarding, then they'll have the chance to actually do an overnight once they become an established daycare pup and their pet parent becomes a part of our Dogtopia family. And it becomes then an extension of the services that we would extend to that pet parent and that pet, so that they can go on a weekend away, they can enjoy a late night out, or they can take a vacation.
Can I ask how many dogs you anticipate you will be boarding in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years?
Sarah, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
I can answer it. Sure. I would say the first year we would anticipate, well, I think at any given time, you would anticipate 60 to 70% capacity. and the total capacity of the store is 116 dogs. So on any given day, you would probably have 20 to 25 dogs in each playroom. And in the playrooms, you're gonna have 1 to 2 canine coaches. So I will say, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's for your daycare use. And then for your overnight boarding uses,
Oh,
that was your question.
Oh,
Boarding use is typically about 25%
Right.
of the overall attendance.
Yeah, that's a smaller percentage.
Another question that I have, I know that this is for staff really. I know that notices go out to property owners within a certain geographic area. Just as we saw in the case previous to this, the applicant had not talked to any of the tenants who lived in the building next door. And for that case, I wouldn't see that that would be necessary at all. I wonder though if the tenants, the commercial tenants in downtown Evanston have been notified of this so that they can weigh in. I mean, if someone has a 10, 15, 20-year lease and they have something to say about this, they may not be the property owner, but I think again, for a lot of the businesses in the Church Street Plaza Theater District, having clients be able to come and leave their pets in a very high-end daycare, evening care, so that they can avail themselves of the restaurants, it might have huge appeal. But I'm just wondering if they were notified.
Isn't it 750 feet, Kay, that you send out the notices?
It's 500 feet, but to your
It's
point,
500.
the notices go out to the taxpayer of record, so we did not reach out to individual tenants of the spaces.
Oh. So the restaurant that's right next door
Chili's.
Chili's has not been told.
Correct. The owner, whoever owns the building, would have been notified.
Church Street Plaza.
Well, and oftentimes people who own the buildings don't want their tenants to be scared off.
So they would say nothing, right?
I'm just saying that I think that it is because of the particularities of the theater district, that this is something that might enjoy a broader discussion with the other stakeholders, and long-term tenants in the theater district, I would say, are legitimate stakeholders.
Sarah, can you speak to whether or not you've had conversations with any of those tenants? I note that in the Dapper record, at that time, it indicates that the applicant is unaware if the Chili's restaurant next door had been notified. So can you speak to whether you've engaged any of those tenants and stakeholders in the neighborhood? I note that some of the letters of support that you have in the packet, while important, are really not addressing sort of some of those immediate neighboring tenants and stakeholders.
I have not spoken with the other tenants. I've only spoken with the landlord.
I could, and I know this is not specific to your Evanston co-tenants, but I can tell you that, and I'll just refer back to those locations that have downtown locations with restaurants right next door, sharing a demising wall. They appreciate, and we do actually a lot of kind of cross marketing with them, where they right now, and I'm not sure about if there's an outdoor seating for that Chili's, but there's definitely been a big advent of people wanting to bring their pups with them to dinner or on their way out to their evening out. And so it's very, very often that we'll do what we call parents' night out, and where those pups will actually come and we'll stay open late. It won't be a boarding. It will be, if you're a pet parent and you bring your pup regularly, you can come and do your late night out. And the restaurants love us. They love that they're not having to negotiate the bowls and the dogs that might be sitting out on an outdoor patio in the summertime, and that they have folks that can then come and be able to enjoy their experience there and then walk home with their pup.
But that, of course, would be restricted to the pre-vetted pet parents whose dogs have been through the vetting process. So it's not as, I think that that's appropriate, don't misunderstand. But it's not as though it becomes a, come to downtown Evanston, drop your dog off and go out for dinner. It's a longer process than that. So it's only for a select group of 140 max people.
That is true.
Okay. Well, as we're talking about it, let's go through the logistics. What are your hours of operation? What do you intend?
Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay. And what are you?
Violetta, I'm sorry, can you hold up there? So, and then overnight boarding, I don't know, how does the hours work for overnight boarding? Because those hours then don't reflect that use.
So the pups will have, the overnight boarding pups will have their dinner, and then they'll have playtime until about 9:30 or so. Then they will go to bed. And then in the morning, they will probably get up for breakfast 6 o'clock or so before the normal daycare dogs start arriving. And then that way they will have breakfast and be able to go potty before the daycare dogs.
And where will they go potty at?
In the playroom, just normal, where the normal daycare dogs are.
Okay.
But,
Probably explain that a little bit more. So
actually, we didn't discuss that.
we have what we call potty platforms. So it is has an under the platform drainage system. So it goes into the sewer system just like a potty would, covered in artificial turf, and it has we use a very great cleanser. It's a bioenzymatic cleanser, safe to the dog's paws, and really helps us with the odor control. So when the dog has any kind of solid waste, that is immediately picked up, double bagged, and disposed of. Any liquid waste goes down into that potty platform, and then there's a hose that we can hose it down and put the bioenzymatic cleaner on it. It takes a little bit for a pup to learn that that's where you go potty. But as you probably have seen, if any of you have pups, as soon as one dog decides that that's where they're going to go potty, suddenly it's the place to be, because the next pup wants to mark that space as well. So they're pretty good at using it. Our canine coaches are excellent at cleaning it up. We do go through a fair amount of water. We have a handy mop bucket with us at all times, and we're really excellent at sanitizing. So while one is cleaning, the other's keeping the other pups engaged.
Thank you. And then to clarify one additional point on the hours, I guess, so the overnight boarding, that is not staffed. When is there not staffing overnight? So you'll have dogs there overnight, and when does staffing leave and arrive the next morning?
Correct. It's not staffed typically between about 10:30 p.m. and then until about 5:30 in the morning, between 5 and 5:30.
Thank you.
And when it's staffed, how many staff do you have?
We will have about 18 staff in total, and we'll have no less than 9 staff per day working.
Are they from the community, or are they driving in?
I would hope all from the community. I mean, that's certainly my goal. And
We're just checking for parking.
And oh, yes. And I plan to have, yes, exactly. And I plan to have 2 employees with autism on staff. That's my goal.
Okay.
And what about the overnight staff?
There would be none from 10:30 till 5 a.m. for the dogs?
Correct.
Okay, so they're just crated then.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sarah, can you talk a little bit about the security in place and the webcams and the protocols that you've got for the overnight boarding?
Oh yeah, the safety measures that we have in place.
Yes.
So as far as the safety measures that we have in place, we have webcams, there's audio, as well as temperature monitoring, just in case if there's heat. I mean, I will be alerted, the manager will be alerted. We will meet all code requirements. The site is sprinkled, and of course that will be confirmed during the build out and everything, in case anything needs to be checked or updated. And also we will have fire monitoring. So.
Yeah, and if you, one of the great things about the technology that we have these days is our franchisees really can, they can observe that location straight from their smartphone the whole time. They can also set alerts for any kind of deviations. So with that sophisticated HVAC system that I told you about, you know, we'll set a set point that we would want the air temperature and the humidity to be, and if it raises or lowers above that or below that, an alarm will go off to the ownership. They can also set it with their general manager as well, so multiple people can have access to that. And then additionally, with those webcams, you know, our pet parents have the view to the webcams, as well as our staff and even our team. So Sarah will be really supported well through our Dogtopia support office. She'll have a lot of training, as well as her team, on-site training for a number of weeks for herself, and then we will send a team out to on-site train her staff. And then she'll have ongoing support from her operations manager, who also has access to those webcams and can see and will be alerted as well. So we have multiple people that are helping Sarah and Carrie be successful and helping the pups to have a safe environment with which to rest and to play.
Kathy, can I ask you if
something?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. So my question is mainly about the exterior. Obviously, you're taking care of everything inside.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But my concern is that you may have, for instance, too many people coming at one and the same time, let's say early in the morning or late in the evening. You have a relatively small foyer, and I don't know what is your experience, how many people you can accommodate or how many dogs at one and the same time. And if you have a line outside, especially in this environment now with the pandemic, this will be not something that we want to see in downtown Evanston. So how do you resolve this?
Yeah, the pandemic has actually given us, we keep looking for silver linings in this. And one of the silver linings is it really quickly challenged us, as we had all of these, 140 open daycares with folks that still wanted to bring their pups there. And then how were we going to do this in a safe environment? And so we quickly went to and pivoted to our technology platform that was already in place. We have a app where pet parents can actually schedule their visit, their time for drop off, they can schedule their pickup, and any services that their pup needs while their pup is there. So we immediately looked at that app and said, okay, how can we help to have contactless drop off and pickup and make this easy for pet parents? So now our app has that feature. So the only pet parents that need to come into the lobby are the ones that are bringing their dog for the first time for that meet and greet and assessment. Otherwise, as we said, they have full transparency to see on the webcams how their pup is doing. And they can actually pull up right in front of the location and alert us on their app, and we can be out there to get their pup and walk their pup in immediately. So Sarah will staff in the morning at drop-off time and at pickup time to accommodate that, so that she has what we call rovers or runners that can go out and get those pups and bring them in safely, and allow the pet parents to be able to move quickly through the process of drop-off. And I'm going to let Sarah share about, she just had a pretty big win that we learned of last week that she was pretty excited about some spaces that will help her to do this. So Sarah, do you want to share that?
Sure. We additionally, we have a couple spaces in the alleyway that the landlord is giving us. And then the parking manager in the city is going to, is amenable to converting the spaces in front of our site into 30-minute spots for additional turnover for our business and also other businesses in the area, which will really help with, bringing the dogs in and out. So that, most of our time for drop off in the morning is from 6:30 a.m. until 9. And then for pickup, is from about 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. We also have dogs that are half-day dogs. We also have dogs that might be there the whole stretch of the day for essential workers that have longer shifts. So we have to keep that in mind as well. So we have people that have all different hours that are across the board.
Do you have any deliveries to this business on a regular basis of supplies, food, anything?
I think it would be just the bioenzymatic cleanser and the dog food. And the bioenzymatic cleanser comes in a large drum that can be delivered, and then it's mixed with water. And we have a self-mixing machine that does that, so that it lasts for quite some time. She'll probably have one delivery of that a month, and then I would say the food maybe weekly, and that would be it.
Okay. And you don't know when that delivery would take place?
We don't have it scheduled right now until the store is open and we set up those accounts.
And then my other question is, Sarah, have you run any business before?
I have not.
Okay, just wondering.
I've managed teams, but I have not run a business.
Okay.
Thank you.
But that's why our franchisees, most of them join us, is because they're looking for their, entrepreneurs. They want to start their own business, but they want the support of someone to help steer them along the way, give them a really clear path on how to do it and how to do it successfully. And for Sarah, the nice thing is she's got 6 peers in the Chicagoland area that are running Dogtopias. So she can go train in those stores. She can ask for some support with them. So they're right there. She can do boots on the ground with them. And then our team comes in to help and really helps her to be successful and helps her pet parents to enjoy the safety of their pups there.
Can I ask a question? Where is Dogtopia? What is its headquarters?
It's in Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix. And so the franchise obviously has really strict protocols and obviously quite a lot of support, which is very good. Has Dogtopia ever revoked a franchise?
We haven't revoked a franchise since the time that we've owned the location, but we have had franchisees where there's been a common agreement that it might not be the business that they decided that they thought that it was going to be, and we always have another franchisee that's willing to step in and take over their store. So we have had a couple of acquisitions of stores, but the acquisitions have been coordinated through our ops team, and where, in some cases we actually had an acquisition where the person stayed and worked there, but just didn't want the responsibility of the day-to-day financial commitment. And so, but no, we have not revoked anyone, but we have a top dog program, and we certify all of our centers not all of them, most of them so far, as top dog facilities. It's a very rigorous program, and we developed it 2 years ago, and it is in all of our new franchisees that sign franchise agreements. It's a requirement for them to be top dog certified. So Sarah has that. She has a year to get top dog certified once she opens the store. Of course, she'll always meet the minimum standards, but wow, won't it be great when she goes above and beyond and hits that top dog certification. And our franchisees are a pretty collaborative, competitive group, and they want to have the safest, best location as well. So we're here for them.
So does Dogtopia sign on the lease, or the franchisee is the lessee?
The franchisee is the lessee, but we have a second position. So we have step-in rights, so that if anything ever does change, we don't disrupt the service to the pet parents and the pets, that we can step in and run the location until we can find another franchisee to take over that space. So we take a pride in vetting really great locations. We love this location and we love Evanston. And we actually, our stores that are in the Chicagoland market are really great locations. So we're excited to add another one to our portfolio there. Yes, Nick?
I'd like to make a comment about the site. I appreciate the earlier comments about this may not being, the standard definition of an industrial area per se, but I visited the site on my bike this last weekend, and when you go in that area, it feels like a micro industrial area because you have it's like a dead spot. You have the tracks and a university building with hardly any windows and a parking garage, and it's not highly trafficked. It needs something like this, and I'm very in favor of this project. And I think it's a weird kind of space to find the right kind of tenant for it. And I think this is a great solution.
Thanks, Max. Any other comments from the board?
I have some
Anybody
questions.
want to comment? Yes, Jill.
A lot of my questions have already been asked. Forgive me if these are disjointed. These are just questions I've jotted down. I know the building well. I know downtown well. It's never occurred to me, what is the usage above this space? Is that the extension of the movie theater? Does that extend that far down? Does anyone know?
I believe it's the movie theater.
George, are you available?
I think there is some office.
Yes, I am.
George, do you know what?
I'm fairly certain it's a movie theater above there. The one of the exits for the movie theater is at the far northeast corner of the Church Street Plaza building.
Yes.
Right.
And that exit kind of dumps out sort of right in front of the proposed Dogtopia space.
So reading about your plans for soundproofing the walls, would that extend to the ceiling as well?
Anywhere where there would be a co-tenant that has a shared wall, or what we would call a demising wall, or the wall above us, we would absolutely do the specialized sound attenuation work there. So.
Okay. Do you have any plans, or in your other facilities have kind of complementary uses to this, like grooming, retail, anything beyond daycare and kenneling?
All of our locations have grooming. We call it spa because some of the locations don't actually clip or cut dogs' hair. So they just have a bath or nail trims. It's required for all of our franchisees to have the ability to do that if a dog becomes soiled in some way, so they can give a courtesy bath. And also so that we can protect those rubber floors, we do want dogs' nails to be trimmed at a comfortable length for them that doesn't damage the rubber floors as well. So both of those activities will always happen. Sarah and Carrie have the choice if they would like to extend that spa service and be able to do actual grooming and trims on dogs' hair.
Is that a service that would be available to non-vetted customers as well?
They may not. They would still have to have the veterinary background checked, so they'd still have to have shots. We wouldn't let any pet in without being able to have all of the veterinary vetting done. However, they don't have to be a regular daycare dog to be able to use the service if she chooses to do the grooming or the cutting. For the spa service, if she only does, it's really just for daycare and boarding parents. So typically our franchisees begin their business with the daycare first. They then begin to layer in some of the boarding. And then once they're really comfortable with their pet parents and the dogs that attend regularly, they might choose to expand as they find if there's pet parent need for the grooming. Typically dogs kind of follow their groomers. It's kind of like when you get your hair cut. If your stylist goes to a different salon, you might follow them. So it's really important that you would find the right groomer to be able to do that, and that we always encourage them to make that secondary to opening your location and getting your safety protocol and your top dog facility and your and all of that.
If that is something that the Lewises choose to pursue in the future, from your experience with other franchisees, do you have an understanding of how those, I'm trying to gauge what the maximum usage of the space would be. So what the usage is beyond the numbers that you've given as average for daycare and kenneling. That is usage.
Grooming, and I think, Sarah, do you have did you design yours with 1 or 2 tubs? They have an option.
There's 2 tubs.
2 tubs. So she couldn't have any more than 4 dogs for grooming at any one time, meaning 2 in weight, possibly drying, and 2 in tubs being washed or groomed. So, you know, I can't imagine that it's going to add any more than 4 pups. Typically, the use of grooming in our stores is almost always for our regular pet parents that come regularly. It's very rare that we have somebody that just brings their dog for grooming and doesn't use our other services. So pet parents will often bring their dog for daycare and say, oh, today's the day that I want to have a bath. We'll do that at the end of the day before they get picked up. Or today's the day I want to have a groom. They'll get groomed, and then mom will come and pick up. So it's typically
no walk-ins, no walk-in grooming like that.
Some locations do have walk-in grooming. Like I said, I think it'll be a while down the road for Sarah and Carrie before they get to that point. We always start first with our daycare pups, so it's the best way to get that business rolling if they choose to do it. But again, her spa is small, only 2 tubs, and so she'll never have. That's never going to be her core business.
Just as a clarifying question for the staff, is the grooming included as a permitted use in the district as it is now? I see like retail services. Does that include dog grooming?
Melissa, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that would be a retail service.
Correct. In this instance, it's an accessory use to the principal use, but it would be considered a retail service use, which is allowed.
Thank you. And I think this is my final question. For this location in particular, have you done a market analysis of how you think your customers will access your services? Will it be by foot? Will it be by car? Do you have an idea of what that split would be?
I don't know if Sarah's done a study, but I can tell you what we find at our other downtown locations. As I said, we've got about 8 of them that are operating right now, and it's about a 70-30 split regarding people that they're already either coming to the area via a vehicle, and then they walk their dog to our location. Or they reside there and they walk their dog to our location. And then the other kind of 30% is folks that don't use us quite as frequently, but they might be coming to the area for evening or weekend activities, for that kind of live, work, play, the play side of it, where they're coming because there's something fun that's going on in that downtown area. But most of our downtown locations already have, you know, either they're already either coming there or they live there. They're coming there to work, and so they're already parking near where they work, or they might, for us, use the app. So kind of a 70-30 split. I have some that are maybe a 50-50 split because they have a little bit more access. This one has actually really great road and parking access, comparatively speaking. Our one in Harbor Steps, you literally have to climb about 60 steps to get to it if you don't live or work right there. So hence the name Harbor Steps.
I have one final, sorry, just a quick clarification question. I know we've talked about outdoor space. I saw in the definition of animal daycare and kennel that you have, it is spelled out to animals are permitted outside of the premises to relieve themselves. Do you ever take the animals outside?
I think that's within the original definition of kennels, which is why we didn't actually need to be included under kennels, because we don't need that resource, which is why we had sought to amend the definition of domestic animal daycare so that we didn't necessarily need that specific element of outside access. But the dogs will be not outside, and they're all self-contained in the facility.
They'll only eliminate inside, and they won't leave until mom or dad picks them up.
Okay. Thank you.
So there's under no circumstance do any of the canine coaches take the pups for strolls?
No,
No.
it's actually a violation.
It's not allowed.
Sarah,
Okay.
and very is
No, that's good to know. That's good to know.
they're not allowed to take them outside. We really want a controlled, safe environment.
Thank you. Any other questions, Myrna? Okay, I'm going to close the record and ask our board what we think of this. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Is anyone from
For
the
allowing
public that wants to speak, Violetta?
I'm sorry?
Is there anyone from the public that wants to speak? There's a few others on the call.
Are there other people on the call? I don't see them. Okay. Anyone? I'm sorry, Myrna, I cut you off. What were you saying?
No, that I was good. I'm good with the project right now, so no questions.
Okay. Well, if there is no one else from the public that wants to speak, I'll close the record and we'll just get a quick review from our board of what we think about this project. Go ahead, Mary.
Again, I have some fairly deep reservations. I would love to see the team. Again, your presentation is very good. Your letters of recommendation are meaningful, and the fact that you intend to employ autistic canine companions or coaches, I think is a wonderful thing. I have reservations that I would love to see a conversation with the other stakeholders in the neighborhood. I'd say that that's something I would love to see happen. And that can happen between the time that we have this discussion and before you go before City Council. So I would hope that you would reach out to the tenants, the long-term tenants in the neighborhood, and again, I think that there may be great enthusiasm, but you would certainly want to know before you open that you've addressed concerns that people may have. Given that I have great reservations, I do see what Max is saying, that 900 block of Clark Street is a little bit of a dead zone before you cross Benson and once again get into much more vibrant downtown scene. Notwithstanding the reservations, because of the strong branding of Doctopia corporate and the support that they would add, I would certainly not stand in the way of this, provided, of course, that the zoning, the text amendment is approved. And again, I'm sure that City Council may have some additional questions, but I wish you the best of luck with it. And I think that, again, the great support from your corporate partners is a deciding factor in my estimation. So good luck, Sarah.
I'll jump in. I echo a lot of what Board Member McCauley just said. I've seen Evanston change a lot in my time, and I can appreciate that when this business district, when the research park was conceived, downtown Evanston wasn't what it is now, and the level and the intensity of residential uses in downtown, perhaps it was visualized back then, but it certainly wasn't actualized to that extent back then. So I think accordingly, our uses of the downtown area have to support residents of the downtown area to the extent where it's reasonable and possible. I would also share the concern about corresponding with the adjacent tenants, in particular Chili's and the movie theater, if that's the case. And I would also suggest extending that to any tenants that you would share the outdoor, the rear access space with, whether it's with regards to waste management, or if I don't know the details of your HVAC upgrade, if that would translate into, additional mechanical systems that may impact other users, whether it be through space or noise. I would prefer to see that level of involvement before before this was approved as a final decision. But I'm in support of the project.
I also think that we need to examine different uses for our downtown. The research park probably didn't get a chance to catch on like it should have before things changed for it. Economically, we're going to have to look at some diverse proposals in order to keep our downtown populated. I think that if this project is done in the correct way, it could actually be a boon, as long as there's not, like, a bunch of dogs outside and no complaints from the neighbors. However, those of you who know about leasing, I feel like 5 years is a long time if this is not a correct fit. I don't know how to change that. I don't know how to fix that. And maybe the things that you were asking about for them to extend themselves to the surrounding businesses could be a condition on our proposal to send this forward. I don't know, whoever makes the motion could consider how to include that. I don't know if we could include that. Staff would have to let us know. But on the overall, if this is done correctly, this could be a great proposal for downtown.
I can chime in just for several words. I think it's a good project, and with all my concerns about how people will access it, I would say it should get our support and go forward. I would encourage the team to think about some additional exterior changes on this street, and especially at this location. I know that you're mainly interior space, and everything you use is inside, which is actually good. But we're careful about making our streets live. And this street being in downtown Evanston, no matter if it's an enclosed facility, maybe you'll find something, and I would encourage you to think about some additional uses that you can use the space in front of your facility, including the sidewalks, so that you can make this more like live space, which this, especially as Max mentioned, this part of the street needs a little bit more life over there. So this is what I think. Otherwise, I'll support it.
I'll just reiterate that it's a difficult spot, and I think it requires some creativity and flexibility on our part to encourage a solution that can work, and I think this can very well likely be it. So I'm in favor.
I'll jump in here. I appreciate the really thoughtful presentation, and it's clear that Dogtopia has a strong corporate team. And Sarah, I really applaud you for wanting to invest in this, and I share the passion and the need for this type of use. I continue to be concerned that this is not the appropriate location for it. I think it's a overly intense and not appropriate location. This is our core downtown. I understand Max and others' perspective that this is, it's a quirky location, and I agree as a member of the Economic Development Committee that we are going to need to be open to other non-traditional retail uses in our downtown. That said, I'm not convinced that this does not interfere or diminish some of the other uses, the adjacent uses, and would not have a negative effect. So for those reasons, I cannot support it. So thank you.
Any other board member want to speak to this? Okay. I will move forward to read the special use standards. Although staff recommends approval, the responses to the standards below constitute the professional opinion of planning and zoning staff. Determination whether the standards for special use have been met shall be exclusively afforded to members of the board. For the ZBA to recommend that City Council grant a special use, the ZBA must find that the proposed special use, A, is one of the listed special uses for the zoning district in which the property lies. Staff believes that this standard can be met with concurrent legislative action. The Plan Commission has recommended the adoption of legislation to amend the listed special uses in the RP Research Park District to include daycare of domestic animal and kennel. B, complies with the purposes and the policies of the Comprehensive General Plan and the zoning ordinance. Staff believes that the standard has been met. The use is compliant with the zoning ordinance and the Comprehensive General Plan. The proposed use promotes the growth and redevelopment of a business and commercial area and strengthens Evanston's economic base. C, does not cause a negative cumulative effect in combination with existing special uses or as a category of land use. Staff believes that this standard has been met. The proposed use has limited potential to negatively interfere with any proximate residential, commercial, or office uses, and staff believes that the applicant has demonstrated adequate mitigation measures to limit the potential for nuisances associated with this use.
Violetta, I disagree.
Thank you. Anybody else disagree?
What I would say to that, is it's conditional, which is why I recommend that there be a dialogue with the long-term tenants and other stakeholders in the area. So I can't say that it would have a negative impact, but I would like to see that dialogue. So I would not, I would say conditionally, but I would say yes for the purposes of voting for the project.
Okay. D, does not interfere with or diminish the value of property in the neighborhood. The staff believes that this standard has been met. The proposed use would occupy a currently vacant storefront, and the proposed use and subsequent improvements would add to the value and the vibrancy of the property, as well as complement nearby residential uses. Does anyone disagree with that? Okay, E, is adequately served by public facilities and services. The staff believes that this standard has been met. The building is served by adequate sidewalks, streets, trash collection is in close proximity to a CTA bus and train service, Metro service, and the Maple Avenue parking structure. F, it does not cause undue traffic congestion. Staff believes that this standard has been met. The location is well suited for customer to access by foot or alternative transit options. Furthermore, the proposed use is in close proximity to public transportation and the Maple Avenue parking structure. Additionally, the potential to change on-street spaces to 30-minute parking in conjunction with scheduled curbside pickup and drop-off through a mobile app should create adequate turnover of on-street spaces. G, preserves significant historical and architectural resources. That's non-applicable. H, preserves significant natural and environmental resources, non-applicable as well. I, complies with all other applicable regulations. Staff believes that this standard has been met. The project complies with all other applicable regulations to move forward with the next steps in the special use process. If everyone agrees with that, can I get someone to please call the motion?
Can I ask a quick question? This is for staff. So in reference to what Carol was saying, I mean, we're talking about conditioning our recommendation for moving forward on this with the Doctopia team reaching out to other stakeholders in the community other than property owners per se. I wonder if we can also condition this on some outdoor beautification of the space, whether that is, you know, dog sculptures, a couple of tables so that the parents can chat when they're, you know, coming or going. I do think you'll probably have a lot of walk-in traffic. Is that something that we can do here, or condition, or just recommend that city council
Yeah, I think you can condition that. I think something we see more frequently is that you might add that as a condition that they continue to work with staff before the city council meeting to develop some of those ideas.
I think that that would be helpful for them going to city council, because as Max pointed out, it feels like a long vacant area. And if it is, if the beautification and liveliness is confined to the indoors and it remains, because there will not be a retail component, and it remains a closed space, then it defeats the purpose of enlivening that 900 block of Clark Street. So I think that asking them to work with staff is probably the right call.
So are you going to make the motion with those two conditions, Mary?
Sure, but I don't have the information in front of me because I was looking up Dogtopia on my computer. Let me get this. So I move in the case of 900 Clark Street. I'm not going to give you the lettering. In the case of 900 Clark Street, that we recommend that City Council approve the special use, provided, of course, that the legislation is passed by the Plan Commission, with the conditions that the Dogtopia team continue to work with city staff on means of beautifying and activating the front of the space, that the Dogtopia team reach out to the stakeholders beyond the property owners, the long-term tenants in the immediate area, and that they complete their project in accordance with the documents provided here.
Can we get a second?
I'll second that. Do we have to put hours of operation?
We did talk about that. 6 o'clock till 7 p.m., she said.
I'm not sure that hours of operation would be, well, I suppose so. Is 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., Sarah?
6:30 to 7, Monday through Friday. And then 10 to 5, Saturday, Sunday.
Well, and what is the, well, okay, and that the hours of operation be 6:30 to 7 Monday through Friday, and 7 to 5 p.m. on weekends?
10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays.
I'm unclear on those hours of operation, because we know that this is basically a 24-hour operation with overnight boarding. So if we state hours of operation as such, that doesn't seem consistent with the use here. Can we get some clarification from staff?
Kate?
Melissa, if you want to jump in too, I think it is a little complicated, especially because the use itself stipulates hours of operation that aren't exactly, they don't match with what's being proposed. I think it's 8:30 to 4:30 or something similar.
Why wouldn't we just say 6 a.m. to 7 p.m.? Because that would be, Lisa, that would be the time during which the doors would be open for the pets and the pet parents to be coming and going from the space. It would be effectively closed when the dogs are in their crates for the evening. Although, do they go in their crates at 7 p.m.?
No, they go in their crates at about 10:30, but we're just there taking care of the pups. No pet parents are there between 7 and 10:30.
Okay.
I did just double check the use too, that 8:30 to 4:30 is only for dogs being outside. So it doesn't really apply to an indoor use like this.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can I just add a clarifying point? So we sought to amend the definition to include a 14-hour time frame per day, and then additionally add overnight stays to domestic animal daycare. So we didn't have specific set hours of operation because they were much shorter in time frame and wouldn't meet the needs of Dogtopia. So that's what we were doing when we were seeking that specific amendment to the text.
Well, how about if we just say, conditioning it also on hours of operation as approved in the text amendment, being considered in the plan commission. Does
could
that
be
satisfy everyone?
I think that's appropriate.
It's appropriate for me.
Okay.
I
So-
second it again.
Okay, so Kate, can you call the roll?
Chair Cullen,
Approve.
Member Macaulay,
Yes.
Member Deacon,
No.
Member Arvalo,
Yes.
Member Miranchev,
Yes.
Member Zordan,
Yes.
Member Puchel.
Yes.
Okay, so is it 6 yes and 1 no? Okay, it moves on to city council. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for all of your help.
All right, next order of business is C, update to board rules of procedure. I read through this, but I'm going to ask staff to explain it.
Yeah, there's not much to this. City Council recently passed an ordinance that essentially says that instead of the mayor appointing the chair of the zoning board would elect their own chair.
So do we need to bring that up today and approve it? Or are you what are we doing with it?
Yeah, I mean, ideally you can discuss the wording and change it if you want, but you would take a vote on. I mean, I think it deleted 5 words and replaced it with 2 or something. It's
Right. I thought that we had actually done this in the past. I thought that we had elected Mary Beth and then Violetta, didn't we? Or we brought Violetta screaming.
Right, screaming and kicking into it, but that's okay. It could sound like a
Thank you,
vote.
Violetta. Thank you, Violetta.
Yes. It's okay, we're here.
Yeah.
But what can we do about this now? What we're talking about?
Well, I would say that we agree to it. If they're considering that amendment, that we say we're in accord with that.
Agree. This
Okay.
is pretty straightforward. I think that, the members of the board are probably in the best position to elect the chair and vice chair based on our experience with our fellow members here, as opposed to it being, determined by city council or the mayor, or however it's worded right now. So I'm in agreement.
Okay. Do we do a motion, Kate? Is that what you want us to do?
Melissa, I'm not sure actually. I would
Yeah.
assume so.
Yeah, you can just do a motion and second and a vote on it.
Can I just quickly ask a question?
Yeah.
I have no problem with the proposal, but I'm just curious, why is it coming up, or why is this being proposed, and is it just for our board and for others as well?
But I'll give a little background on that. The zoning board was the only board where the mayor appoints the chair. Every other board or committee in the city, it was already up to the committee. So staff first just tried to align the different land use committees so that it would all be done the same. So the original request was actually for the mayor to appoint the chair of the plan commission, and city council ended up reversing that so that we match all of the other boards and committees. So it just aligns everything better.
Okay, thanks.
I have a quick just clarification question. I see in the ordinance that it's annually elect. Is that how it is now, that even though is it still was it an annual position before this ordinance?
Technically it is. With the zoning board, once we find a chair that everybody likes, we always stick with them. Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely.
But it can change annually if you guys would prefer that, yes.
Okay. Okay, so who's going to make the motion?
I move that we agree with the city council and elect our chair and vice chair on an annual basis among the members of the board of the zoning board of appeals.
Second.
Okay, Kate, call the roll.
Chair Cullen,
Yes.
Member Macaulay,
Yes.
Member Deacon,
Yes.
Member Arvalo,
Yes.
Member Miranchev,
Yes.
Member Zordan,
Yes.
Member Puchal.
Let's say member Pucktel says yes.
Is it really? It's Pucktel.
Thank you for that
Wrong way,
clarification.
sorry.
I waited until nobody else is on the call.
That was
So,
very, very noble of you.
I actually called you cocktail once, and I was still embarrassed by that because it just like fell out of my mouth, and I'm still, well, until just now, mortified by that, but not anymore.
no worries.
Okay, from now on, we'll do it right. Okay, I guess
Thanks
it
for
passes
clarifying,
then.
Matt.
Yes.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I don't think we have to take roll for that.